Hello and good evening on your own screen and to the Serum Convo of today. It's roundabout number 280. We are setting up and starting. And today we have our guest Johannes Spille with us. And short introduction from my end. Johannes started as an international project manager with Rosen in Germany and is currently leading the metal loss and defamation business in the US as head of business line PDIA and R3, based out of Houston. Believe me, I will ask him some more details on these abbreviations because I'm curious. Being a hands-on personality, what we just have seen as we try to fix some challenges.
Thomas, aus irgendeinem Grund, ich kann Ralf nicht hören. Ich kann dich hören, aber ich kann nicht Ralf hören.
Oh, that is too bad.
Then we have effectively silenced him.
Well,
also true.
Okay, let me do that. So, basically, what you're doing is you're putting your passion for the customer first in all decisions, and well, with that you are creating lasting value that makes a difference by putting the customer first, which is quite our topic basically.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, well, you're a business person, and one of the core caveats of a business is, well, it needs to make business, it needs to make profit, else there is no way in, well, making a customer successful as well. So now a business in your mind needs to start from the customer side, solving customer challenges, and tackle them by developing solutions that make their lives easier, and not only the business's lives, which is quite an important differentiation. And starting with the customer in mind and putting them into the center of businesses that considers, well, that has an impact, which needs to be considered by businesses. And our topic now is, well, we'll dive into exactly these topics after making sure that we haven't forgotten anything about you that is worthwhile mentioning.
No, I think you captured this quite well. Maybe just some private information, since I'm a passionate tennis player for many years, since I'm 6. So I play more than 35 years on the tennis court. I always had also this little competitive mindset in a way on how to approach certain things. And this, when it comes to the business side, I think is a valuable skill to have a certain degree of competitiveness in there, especially if you want to develop businesses forward. Also when putting the customers first. But other than that, you pretty much captured the essence of what my passion on the business side looks like.
Too bad.
Okay. Then let's dig a little into that. So what ignited this passion? I mean, we love it basically because this is our DNA too. So, but for yourself, what ignited it for you?
Yeah, I think so. I'm working for the Rosen Group. It's a company. We are in pipeline inspection. So we inspect pipelines from the inside. We have tools that run with the medium through the line. And we are, as a company, the global market leader, and also in the US, the market leader in this business space. So the company as such, from a pure success story, is doing well in general. However, I started in Germany, as I moved over to Houston 2 years ago, I basically realized in my role here that for some for some customers, we are doing a really, really good job, and they praise us for our customer service, our proactivity, our mindset in finding solutions for their problems. But then other customers are complaining about the exact same things, that we are not finding solutions for them, that we are not proactively engaging, that we are not communicating properly. So it's a very twofold experience. And then for me, the question came up, if we can do it for these certain amount of customers so well, what about the others where we don't do it so well? And what is the difference there? So it looks like we can do something really well, but we just don't do it consistently all over the place. And this then got me more into looking, well, how are we set up as an organization? What are the, let's say, organizational, structural enablers for us to engage with customers in a proper way? What are processes in place that help us doing certain things? And then it became quite clear that to a certain degree, we are very dependent on the individual and their individual mindset, engagement, proactivity, and not so much in the process way to have everybody following certain processes or train a certain mindset. So for me, it felt like, okay, we expect a certain mindset to just be there in people, without really telling them what exactly do we mean and what exactly do we expect them to do. And nobody's doing something with a bad intention, but some things just work better than others. And this, for me, then created the wish to learn a little bit more about this, to find ways to improve this situation, to get in a more consistent manner for the entire business. Then I started researching, reading books. At the same time, on a group-wide level, there were certain initiatives raised, and one initiative was around customer centricity. And so that was for me the point. Well, upper management on a global level realized this as well, that we might have some things to do here. And that was for me then the stepping stone here to say, well, I will take care about this for the US, Central America, and Mexico. This is how I got into this.
Interesting. So it was quite a journey. So
you could say.
As part of our entry or for introduction, we said that in your eyes, Milton Friedman is wrong, basically, who said the business of business is business. So, but business has more than just this purpose. Can you elaborate on that a little more? So why is that guy who is quite famous in contrast to the three of us wrong?
Yes, that's true. It's hard to say if he's wrong, but you can have a different opinion about this.
Okay, that's a compromise formulation.
But yeah, I mean, for me, a business doesn't exist because it's a business. It doesn't, for me, it doesn't fulfill its own purpose. When I found a company, it's not, the company will not survive because it has a certain name, or because it will survive when it offers solutions to problems that customers have. So you need to have a customer base that they buy services or products from you. If you don't have this, if you don't offer valuable, that if you don't create, let's say, if you don't create the perception on a customer that you create value, then they might buy one time of you and they find out, well, I tried it, but it's not worth it for me, and then move on. Especially nowadays, when we look at with internet, Amazon, with all options that we nowadays have to purchase things, products and services, there's a huge variety of options where you can go to. And if the one company doesn't serve you well, you go to the next one. So you can easily switch from one to the other. And it's very rare the case that you have a monopoly for a certain company that you have to go to because you don't have anybody other that offers similar services or products. And this, I think this optionality that you have nowadays puts businesses more under pressure to create value, to communicate this value, and retain customers over a period. So then, if you want to, in my opinion, if you want to be successful with your business, you need to offer solutions to customer needs. If you do this, and if customers feel valued and taken care of, then you will be able to be successful in your business almost automatically because the people will come back. You have then customer retention. You can always go out there and probably have a great idea and sell something once. That's probably not the biggest gig, but can you sell it to the same people 2 times, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and over years? This makes the lasting success, in my opinion. So, business success, and the purpose of the business for me is offering solutions to challenges and problems that customers face.
Really cool.
This sounds similar to what I often say is you, as a business, you become successful as a consequence of making your customers successful.
Correct. If you can make the life of your customer easier, they will come back. And I think this is also what over the past years I would think it got even more into that direction in the past probably 20, 25 years with increasing optionality, that people can choose companies, suppliers that make their lives easier. There is someone out there that does it. And if you are not the one who does it, then someone else will. Many decades ago, probably there weren't not so many options out there, and you would go to those that you know or that you knew, and maybe you always went to this, and maybe your parents used the same the same company, so you just go there as well, because you don't know what else is out there. Nowadays, you just Google something, get your phone out. You have so many options to go to. But if you want to be sustainable and sustainably successful, you need to make your customer's life easier.
Okay, now so you already mentioned Amazon. Our today's topic is the evaluating or elaborating the connection or not connection of employee experience and customer experience. And well, I'm a computer scientist, so I often tend to start with definitions. What do these terms mean to you, for you?
Yeah, for me, the employee experience is if you work for a company, everything that you experience within this company, from the hiring process, from getting into your job, the training, the management you have to deal with, the tools, software components, whatever you have at your hand to fulfill your job duties. This all plays a role in an employee experience. So it would entail everything. You can talk about the feelings. How do you feel as an employee working for this company? Ideal case, you are proud working for a company. You feel that you're valued. You feel that you're promoted when you do things well. You feel that people are held accountable. So this would then, and you, I think important part is that you have a purpose, that your job is actually fulfilling a purpose, and your function, whatever it is, you see the purpose that this function had and how you contribute to the company's success. This is an employee experience internally for the if you look at the purely internal, how do you feel about your job at this company? Customer experience, on the other hand, is everything. If I am a customer and I need to purchase something from somewhere, everything that is included into the process of getting what I want can be very painful or can be rather easy. If I need to order just quickly a new board game, I can drive 10 blocks down there and go into a toy store. I can look into what kind of board games I want, but then I maybe don't see what I want. So I can ask them if I can order it, and probably they can order it. It will take another week. So it's a whole process. I also have to get out of the house. I need to drive there. So this is one kind of experience, and this experience can be for many people, this can be very fulfilling because they want to talk to humans in their process, and they want to see and feel all the toys and board games that are there, and just want to walk around and have a more of a haptics to it. While others rather, and I am lazy on my weekends as well, want to rather lay in bed in the morning, get the phone out, oh, I need something, open Amazon, oh, I got it, I click on it, and 2 clicks later it's ordered, and I know it will be there the next day when they say it's with Prime. So whatever you are looking for, and what personality you are, this is the experience that you are then looking for as a customer. How basically no one wants to go through a complicated process to get something ordered. I don't want to go on a website, and even if I can get certain products maybe a little cheaper on a different website, but maybe on that website I need to enter my email address so I can get all the advertisement emails until I unsubscribe. Then probably they want to have my phone number. I'm already annoyed if I have to type in this information. I don't want to go through all this shit, and then I need to go through and I ordered, okay, I saved now $5, but there is no Prime, there is no delivery tomorrow or something. But it will take then, I think 2 weeks ago, I ordered something somewhere else and it's still not there. I'm already annoyed when it's not there 2 days after, because you get so used to it, how easy it can be to get products delivered to you. This is why Amazon is still out there, because they manage this really well. There is almost no easier way to order quickly something. And this is the customer experience. So everything from the first contact to the process of ordering a service or a product, to the end, you get the product. Is it the quality? Is it exactly what you ordered? Is the service that you got the one that you expected? What was the whole interaction? How easy is it to return something if it doesn't fulfill what I need? If I go into a clothing store and I buy some new clothes, and then after a week I think, oh no, actually I don't, or even after a month, I think Nordstrom, you almost have an unlimited return guarantee for certain things. These are ways where you can make it a very pleasant customer experience. So these are then the two things for me. And the connection is then relatively easy if you work for a company and you get great feedback from the customers, and they always praise, it was so good, it was so pleasant, and you are on the phone with them and you say, hey, this was a great job that you did, everything is fine, I will come back. You as an employee are very happy and fulfilled in this moment as well.
Yeah.
If you have to work for a company where certain things are not working well, where you don't have where you are not empowered to do certain things, where you don't have the right tools, where something is hindering to serve customers well, and you have to deal every single day with complaints, this is not a good employee experience as well. And this is where you can say, if you are able to provide benefits to a customer, I'm strongly a believer that this will make your employee experience, your own experience in the company that you do, more purposeful, more enjoyable, and most likely the company that you work for on the long term more successful than maybe others.
Now you already mentioned a quirk in a quirk. Yeah, let's just use this word. You basically flipped the common saying that a happy employee makes a happy customer, or only a happy employee makes a happy customer, by saying actually it's the other way around. What made you come to this realization? Because it's a very interesting one.
Yeah, happy employee, happy customer. We know this, but then a happy customer makes a happy employee as well, or even more. I would like to praise that this is a great idea I had myself, but it wasn't. It was as I did my research and I came across a book, I think published 2013, called The Customer Culture Imperative. Market Culture is the company that came out of this. And there's a newer version called The Human Culture Imperative, just released several weeks ago. And one of the authors, Sean Crichton Brown, he basically came up with this term in the books and said, a happy customer makes a happy employee. And this is a realization which is, I think, also easily to understand. I don't think that you really can separate those. If you have a toxic work environment as an employee, it will definitely have an impact on your well-being to a certain extent and how well you feel there. But still, if you do your job and you can provide still value to a customer, the customer can be very happy with you. And you serve him and you get a good feeling in this moment that the customer is thanking you for the good work and what you did. But if you then have to go back in your toxic environment in a company, this is then a negative impact on the employee, because it could be, and we see this in many companies, there are companies out there that manage that you provide a great customer service for the basically independent from the individual that you are talking to, because there's a common mindset, there's a common understanding on what a great customer experience look like. But then even with companies that they are not the best and they have their flaws and the service is not always great, there are still individuals probably there that can deliver a great customer service. But this is then a little bit the challenge, I guess, what businesses face, not to rely on just individuals and how they interpret certain rules and how they think great customer service has to look like and experience, but how are you able to manage this in a broader sense, in a wider sense, so I think employee experience and customer experience, they are different. They are related to each other to a certain extent, but I don't think that you can just separate them from each other. They interact. So there is a connection. If you're a company, work for a business that puts customers first and says, okay, whatever we decide, we at least need to think about what is the impact on the end customer of this? And if we decide we are okay with this impact, then it's a conscious decision, and then you can move on. If you decide, because you have a great idea internally and you keep the customer out of the equation, then you end up in the worst case getting products and services out there that no one wants. You think it's a great idea, technology, but no one in the end wants it. Also doesn't help. But the angle, a happy customer makes a happy employee, has its truth to it. On the other hand, a happy employee doesn't necessarily mean a happy customer, because you can be very happy with your environment in your company, because maybe you don't have much to do, you have great colleagues, even though the services that you provide to customers, maybe they are not ideal, but yeah, it works. But if your own life is very easy, you get your paycheck regularly, you have a decent amount of money, then you can say, well, I actually don't need to care too much about those, because for some reason the company is still successful, I get paid, I like my colleagues, so I can be very happy internally. I have my weekly tennis games or chess games with the colleagues. I have these excursions, what the company does. So the company is investing a lot into the employee experience, which is great. So it's a great place to work. But then it only goes so far. You don't necessarily need to make a customer happy to be happy at the place where you are. But for the company, if the company wants to grow, it's not a choice. You need to have customers that are happy with you. Otherwise, you only get to a certain degree and then you're limited. If you want to grow further, you need to have the customers in mind.
Now, the happy employee, let me throw my favorite wrench here.
Uh-oh.
We already mentioned Amazon a couple of times. So
Yeah.
Amazon is regularly used as the company that, a company that is extremely customer centric and has, Bezos customer obsession and, customer experience at its mind. Now, if we are combining or looking at employee experience, I'd now argue that there aren't many places where in quite a good part of the Amazon business, and I'm not talking AWS here, the employee experience couldn't be far worse. So how does that relate to each other, or how can that relate to each other in your eyes?
Interesting.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic. If you are able to automate so many processes with your company, if I interact with Amazon for many years now, I think I never talked to a human being because I didn't have to. So it's all automated emails. It's all what I want. Basically, I don't want to deal with too many hiccups. So I get still everything delivered without knowing what is actually happening behind the curtains. And employees can be overworked, maybe underpaid. They can even looking into really bad experience, maybe working for the company. But if they are not in direct contact with customers to transport this feeling or the message or their own mood to certain things, the customers, they won't know because they just deal with the environment that are programmed. They get automated emails, so there is typically no human interaction. And with this human interaction, I think the more you are service-based, where products or services need to be explained, where you need to have a human counterpart on this side, I think if this person or these persons that you are talking to, that you interact with, if they don't feel valued in their company, if they have a certain negative feeling, I think in this human interaction, this is, I think, where it gets clearer whether employees actually feel happy in a company and support what the company is doing, or not. When everything is automated, that you don't have contact to direct human interaction, this gets a little lost. And then you can read the news and you can read reports, and you can inform yourself how well Amazon or other companies are treating their employees. And then you would make the decision for yourself. Do you want to support this further and buy there with all its positive implications? Or is this an ethical reason for you to go somewhere else? But you wouldn't get this feeling directly from the employees because you are not in contact with them.
Now, automation is one of the keywords here. So automation these days gets increasingly translated with a two-letter acronym, A and I. In how far do you think that this is actually a set of tools that helps in, well, making both parties, customer as well as employees' lives easier? And conversely, where does it start to harm or to hurt even?
So I think as soon as you have the mindset that AI is not necessarily a threat for your job function, but more like a tool to help and automate things, AI can be a very helpful system. But if you, for example, are in a position where, or let's say a famous example is call centers, service centers, where you have human beings on the phone typically, and then you talk to them, you work some things out. Some service centers and call centers work better than others, but then some companies have tried, well, this is basically automated. We can fully go back to AI, have AI chatbots, and just have the customer on the other side click through certain numbers to reach a certain topic, and then try to, put it down to a limited amount of claims, probably, or service solutions, because many things are repeatable. But this then only goes so far. If you have to stay on the phone for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and you're still in the road and still trying to figure out which number now and you were just guided through, this is very annoying. And this has nothing to do with a good customer service anymore. You want to have your problem solved, and you don't want to click through 25 steps until you are in the area where your solution might be. So the more we automate, which has many positive impacts. If I have an AI like I chatbot on my work laptop, and I want to get a summary of the past 10 days of emails that I received, and I want to have a checklist, something that I would need normally to read through every single word. Now I can get easily an overview. Still, I would double check certain things of it if the information is still correct. But these things are very easy nowadays to automate. But the more automation we have, the more important, and that's the funny thing, the more important is actually the human interaction on the other side. Because you reduce human interaction wherever you can, but in certain areas, the human interaction is actually this point that makes or breaks a service or a product. I don't think we as the human race, we are like a herd. We need to be engaged with people. If we start automating everything, we don't have contact to each other anymore. It gets very lonely very quickly. And I think the human touch and human interaction gets even more important when we see that so many things can be automated, so many things can be standardized. We can talk to Alexa all day She basically does everything that we almost want her to do. But I don't feel that we want to talk to machines and AI trained chatbots every day and every single day. We need the human interaction. We need empathy. We need feelings. We need human interaction, people that understand us, people that help us and giving us a good feeling at the end of the day. I think this is what nowadays companies that focus on the human portion in their service, this is what will make them, in the times of AI, in the times of processes, automation, make them even more successful when they utilize AI to an extent where it makes sense. Not to replace humans in the human interaction, but to automate the processes that normally would just take time.
Digging into that a little more. So, and well, you mentioned empathy, and Ralph was nodding vigorously. So I usually come with my duck there, which is, if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, then it probably is a duck. So what is empathy? So empathy is, well, first of all, something I receive, not something that is exhibited. So if I feel empathy, it is empathy. If I don't, then not. Now, part of this empathy is, to me, getting my, this is similar what you have said before, is getting my things solved. And now this is where probably a cultural shift may happen, or does happen already, is, well, as I do want to have it solved, I care about having it solved fast. And instead of talking to a gazillion of people who probably ask me all the same questions that the bloody chatbot asked me before, or the 3 chatbots already asked me before. In how far is it that the automation that you've done, or that, not you as a person, that businesses have done, is actually plain wrong by guiding me through all this old style phone tree, which basically is more a deterrence? Can it be that businesses haven't really understood that the moment we do call, we actually have exhausted all meaningful ways that they offered us before?
Yeah, that's a good question. Typically, businesses, especially upper management, that have to, everybody needs to be, I mean, it was always a term, but reducing costs is always a big topic. And people already get sparky eyes when they hear, okay, I can automate processes, I can get rid of some paychecks, but and I save this amount of money.
The investors get sparkly eyes too.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody is happy, man. We're saving so much money. But at what price? And this is then where it is, if we talk about empathy, I think and I think this is a deep human feeling, we want to be understood. We want to feel that whoever I am interacting with, he actually understands me in the way and can feel how I feel, or at least understand. If I am fully frustrated with a certain product, I want to call someone if I need to get it fixed. Product is maybe not the best example, but if I have a problem, I need help there. I want to get someone on the phone that actually acknowledges that this is an issue, that acknowledges that, yeah, actually, I would probably react the same way. I would be reacting the same way, but we will find a way to fix this. This gives me a feeling, all right, there is someone I can trust to a certain extent, that they will get what I'm feeling. And I think this type of validation is very, very human. If we don't get this, and most likely from a trained AI chatbot, only to a certain extent. This is hard to automate and hard to replicate. And if we don't have, I think we all somehow, if it's in business, if it's in private life, everybody is, I think, looking for some kind of validation, whatever they do. They want to be seen, heard, and this is a very human skill that is hardly replicable with AI. And I think this is the strength that human interaction will still maintain and has to maintain. And then, yeah, AI should be a tool to do things faster and better, but it should not be a replacement of the human being and the human interaction, which we all need.
Highly agree.
No, Ralph agrees. So no, I do too. So, but then who are we, right? If
Exactly.
the big vendors and big names are selling efficiency, which is purchased by the buyers, and efficiency usually equates to reducing paychecks. But getting a little away from my usual cynicism here. At the X Day, Question Pro X Day, you have been part of a panel where you related to relate basically a project that you worked on with Ed Rosen that was about making life easier for employees so that they can make life easier for customers, basically. So that Rosen can become more successful as a consequence. Again, the outside-in thinking. So can you lost my track here. Sorry. What led you there, and what are the levers that you wanted to not wanted to try to move, but did move in order to make this a success?
Yeah. So what I was mentioning earlier with market culture as a company and the 2 books I wrote, as I did my little research earlier on and read books, one of the first books I read was The Customer Culture Imperative, which talks about putting customers first. And in that book and with a study, they developed a so-called Market Responsiveness Index, MRI, which basically says the customer centricity of a company and this culture behind can actually be easily measured. And this was for me quite interesting and also easy to follow, because culture is typically something which is very fluffy. Culture, when people hear culture, what does that even mean? And do we have a good culture, a bad culture? Do we care about customers? Yeah, of course we care about customers, but what does it mean? So the MRI has 8 disciplines, and these disciplines quickly are customer insight and customer foresight, and talks about what do you actually do as a company to gain customer insights? How well do you understand the actual customers? So the same for the foresight. Do you see customers' needs in future years or upcoming needs? How well are you tracking this? The same for competitors. So these are the first 2. Then 2 categories: competitor insights, competitor foresights. Do we understand our competition? Do we have an eye on future competition that might come up? Then the 5th category is peripheral vision. So are we looking as a company and as a business outside our own little bubble of industry? Are we having an eye on technology developments? Do certain technology developments that are coming, are they able to change how we are doing business today? And then on top of that, 3 internal enablers that talk about empowerment. how empowered do we as employees feel to make certain decisions, to bring in ideas, to contribute to the strategy. The next one is collaboration. Collaboration between departments. Is the company more acting in silos, or is there real collaboration with the goal to provide an end product that serves the customers the best way? Or are we rather concerned that we follow our internal processes and each department reaches this goal, which can be disconnected from the customer? And an 8-1 strategic alignment. How well does everything that we do align with what the company's strategy is? Is the company's strategy even known to employees? Do I know what the strategy of the company is that I'm working for? So these 8 categories are powerful. And what they did is they created an assessment or a survey of very specific questions for each of those categories. On top of this, free text questions for input. And I did this assessment with the Rosen Group in USA, Central America, and Mexico. It's about 830 people that participated. And then at the end, you get a circumflex as a result with percentage values in each category. And these are percentiles, benchmarks against all companies that have done this MRI survey up to this point. I think there are more than 1,000 companies in there. Apple, Amazon, some other famous names were part of it. So you get a good idea with a very standardized, easy to perform assessment, and you get a number out of it where your company is positioned against all the rest that did it. And this was, for me, as I read through it, it made sense. The questions I saw made sense to me and made me think of, oh yeah, this is actually that we already do well. Oh yeah, this is something we haven't really thought about, but maybe we should start thinking about this. So I found this this assessment very, very insightful. We did the analysis. The analysis is almost automated. You get the results instantly. It's an online survey that you perform. And this shows you directly which categories are your weaknesses, which categories are your strengths, and you can then build on this. If you have, for example, high scores in competitor foresight, but you have low scores in customer insights, that means, well, you are pretty observing about the market and the competition and what is coming next, that you in that area lose a little bit of traction. How do you serve the current problems of the customers that we have? And so they are very different results that you can expect. And you have, the nice thing is you have direct, tangible insights that you can act upon. And this was for me something that I worked with market culture, especially with Sean Crichton-Brown, who was in the panel with me as well. He invited me to the panel to speak about experiences, how it went so far. And it's a good collaboration so far, which gives us direct insights on what we need to do differently. Next question is then, how do we do it? This is then to be worked out. But in comparison, we also talked about employee engagement survey. So we again have customer experience that we want to improve. We have employee engagement surveys. How do we feel internally? When the employee engagement survey is done, typically afterwards, there have to be focus groups to further analyze the results. And what do these results actually mean, to draw conclusions out of this? The MRI gives you the direct results visible, and you can directly start prioritizing and acting on it. And they have been doing the research. They also found out there's a direct correlation between the MRI score and the profitability or the revenue growth of a company. So an increase in the score in total increases the revenue and profitability by a certain percentage already. And this is then the very, very important part. You then make a customer-centric culture measurable, and you can directly link it to outcomes. If you go to upper management and talk about culture and you want to do this assessment and want to feel what can we do better, you can also easily be pushed back and say, you know what, it's all nice culture, and yeah, but focus on the next projects, get in the revenue numbers, make sure that we hit the numbers by the end of the year, because they have something tangible that they can measure. If you have something fluffy, this might be all good and nice and sounds good to the outside, but what do we get out of it? What is the value that we do this? And this value needs to be clear. I think the MII gives you a score, and we did this as an initial assessment. We will have a dedicated team working on improvements in areas, and you can set your goals based on the score. You do the assessment a year or 2 years later, you directly compare, and then you need to draw conclusions to the revenue and the profitability numbers as well, and say, well, we improve a certain percentages here in the overall score. This is basically seen in the revenue numbers and the profitability because it went up as well. You can still argue, would those numbers go up anyways if I do this thing or not? But the customer will tell you in the end whether they see any change. The customer feedback that you gather, they will let you know what, Johannes, great initiative, but you're doing the same mistakes you always did. You're not calling me more often. I don't feel better with this. So good try. But the outcome should be, no, the customers should feel a difference, and they should see this consistency in certain behaviors. The employees then, they were asking, we want to be trained. We want to know what we need to do. How should we do certain things? Don't just expect us to act in the best interest of everybody. Show us what this means. Show us what good looks like. And this is where we are currently in the exciting process to do this for USA, Mexico, Central America. The goal is to do this globally with the entire Rosen groups. It would be around 4,500 employees that will be part of it. I'm excited more to come. But for me, it was really, I read it and said, this is tangible. This is a result I can work with. This is what I can present to management and say, this is what we can make out of it. So I think that was it.
This begs two immediate follow-ups, actually. So one is there have been 800 odd responses, as you said. They likely came from all sorts of, all levels of the organizational hierarchy.
Yeah.
Can you relate to us, well, it's public then, whether the responses were different across the 8 dimensions, whether the perceptions of the employees have been different across the hierarchical levels of the organization?
Yeah, this was very interesting. So what we did, we summarized the results for the entire, for all employees that answered. And then we had differentiation between USA and Mexico by department, leadership separately. So to get a little bit an idea on how different departments see certain things. And yes, you see differences. You see also difference in the score. For us, the overall score was positive. I think we started with 59% MRI overall score, which is slightly above average. This is already good. But we see that certain aspects when it comes to our internal enablers, collaboration, empowerment, it became quite clear that we have a lack there. There are too many silos still acting. We have a decent customer insights view, but you see different levels and percentages. And interestingly, the relative judgment between the categories didn't really change from department to department or from country to country. It was very consistent how they were ranked against each other. The percentage values, they differ, yes. But customers, the lowest were typically the internal numbers, empowerment, collaboration, strategic alignment to an extent. But then we have a good understanding of customers, good of competition. And then if you go on a department level, you would have lower scores on the competition when it is basically a back office, finance department, where you would expect a lower score. But this assessment is then also raising the question, is it actually in our own interest that our back offices don't know much about our competition or our customers or something else? So it raises a lot of questions to follow up with. So impressive was that the results were very consistent over all departments. I can totally relate to the results. They totally make sense. Several things have been seen in the past that got now backed up with real, basically, numbers. And the verbatim comments, we had more than 6,000 verbatim comments, really elaborate on where they see challenges, what the employees also think should be done better, expectations to leadership. So there are a lot of things to get out of it. So yeah, I think realistic results, consistent results, and a good starting point.
Now, 8 categories, which is quite a decent number. So experience says that if you have a couple of categories, they are not all created equal. So addressing, well, some of them create a bigger lever than other ones. Is this the same with these? On which would be the ones to tackle first, apart from there where probably is the highest gain to achieve?
Yeah, and that's why what you need to do now is when you have the results, you need to set priorities. And everything out of this has to come with leadership buy-in. Leadership has to model this. So what we are doing is we will have a leadership workshop to align on the 2, 3, or maximum 4 things we want to focus on going forward. Always something to focus on is customer insights. Even if you are on a decent score, you cannot do enough on that level. So customer insight for me is always something to work on. And then on the other hand, most likely internally, if we feel that we have internally too much of a silo action mode, and we need to have more cross communication, cross collaboration, these would be probably the 2 or 3 categories to focus on in the first step. And you have to prioritize. Otherwise, you cannot work on all of these things at the same time. You need to focus. You need to know and relate this to your business, how the business performs at the moment, where we are lacking the most, and what do you think and leadership thinks, where do you gain the most out of it, even also in a short notice. Because what you also want to do is ideally you have short notice, midterm results that you show this actually is working. This is what we did and the outcome is this. And then management will say, oh yeah, this is actually a great idea. Let's move on. If this takes another 3 years until anything comes out of it, then it's just another survey that you can bury and say, yeah, good try, but try better next time. But I'm optimistic with this one.
As we are, well, we already passed the top of the hour, but as we started late, we are approaching the top of the live hour. we usually, I mean, I could continue this now for ages because this is more than just interesting. It's really interesting. So, but to close down, so we close down with what we call famous last words to terminate the event, the session. So if you had one piece of advice that you wanted to give to the audience, to practitioners in particular, about how to proceed with improving culture and customer and employee experience, what would it be?
The one advice would be, whatever you do, whatever you try to implement and to change, you need to make the connection to the business outcome, whether it's revenue, profitability. You need to make this connection. If you do it separately, if you just create internal things that sound nicely, but you miss the connection to what does it mean for the business? Can the business grow? Is the business improving by this? If this link is not there, no management will buy into it. If you are able to make this connection and say, this is what we do, this is the outcome we expect, and this is how we grow, then you have a way and a handle and a lever to move forward, and to implement whatever you think is the best thing to implement. So connect your initiatives to the business results.
Perfect. Thanks, Johannes. So this hour went by far too fast.
Yeah, it was quick. It was very quick. That's
Yeah,
good.
the learning is we need to do another hour if you agree.
And probably
That
with me
works.
listened and heard also by our guest.
So maybe you didn't hear Ralph now, but
Unfortunately not.
I hope the audience did. So thanks, Johannes. This was great. And as said, to be repeated. To the audience, also thanks. Well, there was one spammer who had a comment, so which we did not dig into. Let's continue for next week, or directly do the sneak peek into next week, which is a slightly related topic when we are going into what we bulletproof customer loyalty or loyalty management with Jessica Kane, who is the new CMO of SAP CX. So this is quite an interesting topic too. Everybody's invited to join in actively as well as passively. And we now go backstage. See you soon.